Hi everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation, and I'm going to start my series, and hopefully this works really well because I'm doing this for the very first time, like kind of real time. So I'm making a book with you. I've been asked by a couple of people to kind of go through my process on how I make my books and how I think about them and design them and whatnot. And so I just thought I was going to go ahead and do a book real time, show you what I do, show you how I go through my process, and kind of explain a few things. So hopefully this will all make sense. This is going to definitely be a several part series. I'm going to do a mini album. It is Halloween themed because I had intended to do this last month. However, life for us has been really crazy. We sold a house, bought a house, and then as soon as everything got finally all said and done with all the things that happened in the process, unfortunately a couple weeks ago my son had an unfortunate incident. An oak tree fell on his house during a windstorm and crushed it. So he is living with us now while he gets all that squared away. So it's just been kind of really busy. So I had intended to do this last month. So, we're still going to do it with the Halloween stuff that I had got prepared to make the book. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is just talk you through the process that I do, and I'm going to try and put it all together real time for you and show you everything. And then just for your information, the papers that I'm using are coming from a K & Company collection that is really, really cool. So let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing when I'm looking at making a book, the first thing I think about, there's two things. What size pages I want, and then how many pages I want. And then that kind of will give me my dimensions and measurements for making the cover. So this sounds kind of backwards, but if you know what size page you want for your book, and you know how many pages you want, then you can build the cover to go around that. So that's how I do that, and that's how I make my binding, make my cover. So I kind of start there. My book is going to have pages that are going to be 8 inches tall by 6 inches wide. And the 8 inches tall is important because that is going to be the length of my binding piece. Now, my binding piece, my favorite way of doing it is Laura Dennison's Stack the Deck. I really like that particular binding system. The other binding system, Hidden Hinge, by Kathy Orta, is awesome too. It's just sometimes, and depending on what kind of book you're making, if you have a lot of folds in it, I don't think that they turn as well. Personally, that's for me. But, however, having said that, I do sometimes use that binding system as well. So, but for this particular one, I'm going to go ahead and use a Stack the Deck thing. Now, the one thing with Stack the Deck is it's really awesome, but generally the measurements are for even number pages. So you have to have like 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on in order to do the binding system the way that she does it. I like odd pages. I'm weird like that. I don't know why. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I figured out an odd page way of doing this. So that's the binding system that I'm going to use. And again, my pages are going to be 8 inches tall, so the binding piece is going to be 8 inches as well. Okay, so I'll show you how I do that, and let's go ahead and get started. Now when I figure it out, the other thing that I like to do is I like bigger or wider spaces in between my page. So if you look at this, this is kind of my visual. These are the binding pieces. This is going to represent the binding pieces. So when you have your binding pieces and you make them, and I'm sure you're pretty familiar with the Stack the Deck thing, you end up with 2 pieces on either side that are folded up, and this is what your page is attached to. So as you're looking at this diagram, this is that piece right here that your pages are going to attach to. And those I keep at 1/2 inch. That seems like a real good amount to be able to attach your pages to. I like a 3/8 inch distance in between my pages. Not quite 1/2 inch, not quite, a little bit more than 1/4 inch. It gives you a little bit more space, and I tend to like that better. So I've been using 3/8 of an inch. So as I lay this out, if I want 5 pages, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then plot this out. I'm a real visual person, so this is kind of how I figured it out. And then I went ahead for myself and made kind of a cheat sheet. So I only had to kind of plot it out once, and then all I got to do is look at my cheat sheet now for measurements and whatnot. This whole entire spine width is going to be 1.5 inches. okay? And then you have to obviously add a half an inch here and a half an inch here for this piece right here, which will be this piece right here. And so this piece will measure 2.5 inches. Okay, so then you have this middle piece right here, and this middle piece is going to be 3/4 of an inch here plus an inch, so 1 3/4. And then this little piece here, this is going to be 3/8 of an inch here plus a half an inch, so that's 7/8 of an inch. Okay, so you would take your 2.5 inch piece, score it ½ inch on either side, and then you would take your middle piece, which is the 1 3/4 inch piece, that's the middle section right here, score it ½ inch on each side, and then you take your 7/8 inch piece and you score it ½ inch on the one side. Okay, so that gives you this ½ inch here for attaching the page, and then the 3/8 inch for actually stacking it on the binding. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you. But that's how I plot it out. Now, when you put them together, sometimes I find it pretty easy to use my scoring because I can center things pretty nicely and get them really even. So you take your pieces, now you're going to put score tape on the back side. Now this biggest piece, the back side piece, I guess you would call it, the bottom piece, I'm going to put the score tape on, but I'm not going to take it off yet because that's what's going to attach to the book. So that's how that does. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lay that in the center as best I can. Then I'm going to take my next piece, and I've already put the score tape on, and then I'm going to just center it. Right in the middle, and I like doing that because then I can get it pretty even and nice and flush up at the top. And then take your last piece wow, yes, guess what I did, guys? I totally put the score tape on the wrong side. So there you go, live TV, right? So the beauty of this is that it's going to be covered up, and if I can take it off, it's going to be